joking and playing around and fooling around. You can't do that. Now for the young boys and girls who come here, they're just playing. Even the Prophet said, don't bring the young children in the masjid unless you control them. Because the masjid has its own sanctity. So if you bring children to the masjid as parents, you can't just let them run all around and fool around. You can't do that. If you were on the operating table, would you want some kids fooling around in the operating room while they going inside your head? No. This is more important. Check yourself when you come to the masjid. Cut your phones and put this in jinn that's in the phone under control. They got a switch on here. This is just my advice for you. You can do whatever you like, you know what I'm saying? Because ain't nobody regulating you. That's the problem right now. That's what our topic's about today. Unfortunately, we Muslims, kathir. You know, we lots of Muslims. The problem is that we're not under control. We're not regulated. We're just doing what we want to do. And nobody can tell you nothing. Well, I'm from the OGs. I can tell you something. You don't like it, we can go on the back. Get another lesson. So, brothers, you know, we just a discipline that if you observe it, there will be benefit. If you don't observe it, it's just nothing. You don't get nothing. So our topic, alhamdulillah, our topic tonight is community, brotherhood, and leadership. Three terminologies. It seems like the Muslims everywhere forgot it. You know, we want to memorize Quran, lots of it. Even if it's not enough just to memorize it, we want the 10 killer ayats too. We want the tafsir of it too. We want the balagha of it too. We want hadith and we want mustalahat. You know, we want to learn the Arabic language. You know, and that's not enough. We want the, you know, we want to also get the Siba way. You know, we want all the sophisticated stuff, but we didn't take care of the fundamentals. Be careful how high you fly, because when you run out of gas, you're going to fall the same distance. You feel me? So brothers, come forward, please. Fill up the ranks. If something's wrong with your back, you know, you are OG, something wrong with your back, all right, chill. But if ain't nothing wrong with your back, fill up the ranks and get up from on the walls, man. All you young guys over there sitting against the wall, come over here and sit down. No, come up front. I'm going to look in your face. Come over here. Just come over here. If I was giving out some money, you wouldn't be over there. Okay. So let's start with the basics. You know, there's an ayah of the Quran, which we all heard it, we all hear it, but we're not listening. We heard it, we read it, but we're not listening. So let's slow it down now and recite it again. This is the 103rd ayah of Surah Al-Imran. Al-Imran. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا واذكروا نعمة الله عليكم إذ كنتم أعداء فألف بين قلوبكم فأصبحتم بنعمته إخوانا وكنتم على شفا حفرة من النار فأنقذكم منها كذلك يبين الله لكم آياته لعلكم تهتدون. So let's just break it down, statement by statement. First, he says, وَاعْتَصِمُوا. This is in order. This is in the fi'l al-amr. He's not suggesting. When Allah says fa or wa like that, this is fi'l al-amr. He's emphasizing, he's commanding. وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ. So here Allah is saying, so hold on. Like you were being on a cliff and there was a root of a tree and you look down, it's like 300 feet. You would be holding on for life. Because you know if you let go, it's over. This is what Allah said here. وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ. Hablillah, the rope of Allah, the scholars agree about this hablillah that it means the jama'ah. The hablillah, it means the Quran and the Sunnah. The Quran and the Sunnah is the rope of Allah. Jami'an, jami'ah here means the jama'ah, and not, it doesn't mean the jama'ah prayer. See, we be thinking that jama'ah here means go to the masjid and pray. Doesn't mean that. Jama'ah here means a group of people disciplined and committed, following an established leadership under that authority. So how many of you is under that? I don't have to say, you're not under that. We got masjids with imams, but the imams themselves don't have no imam. And those imams who should be, they don't have no commander. So imams and masajids that are not connected means it's like the cells of the brain, they're not connected. That means you can't think. Because the thought process comes from the neurons in the brain jumping from back and forth in an organized fashion to create thought. That's just, you know, if you want to understand Jama'ah, how it works, the same way the brain works, that's Jama'ah. So when you get a stroke, you know, it hits you with a stroke, that means something happens here, it blocks it, and now you lose something over here, you lose something on your face twist, or you die. Why? Because a break comes in those neurons, and there's no longer any energy. So when there's no connection between the masajids, and you know, brothers, if we're really honest, 6,000 masajids in the United States of America, and they're not connected. And don't tell me something about some MSA and MCA and Eminem and blah, blah, blah. Don't give me all that. That don't have nothing to do with Jama'ah. Those are organizations that came together and followed some 503C rules or whatever it is, and they created a not-for-profit organization, and they built a masjid. That's not the Jama'ah. That's the convenience of people coming together and forming something so they don't have to be regulated. So we're using the kufr system so we don't have to be regulated and we don't have to pay no taxes. You're trying to get something from both ends. You don't want to pay no taxes and you don't want to be regulated. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He put fitna in your midst. Did you brothers know that community is wajib? Community is wajib. Why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He ordered us 5 prayers to pray in Jama'ah. Why He ordered us to do that? Because if He didn't do that, we would pray separately. That's the nature of human beings, to be greedy, to be selfish, to do their own thing. But Allah says here, وَاعْتَصِمُوا, hold on to the rope of Allah, the Quran and the Sunnah, بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا, in the Jama'ah, using the system of Jama'ah. And what is the system of Jama'ah? I just said it. What is it? A group of disciplined people who are committed behind a selected leader and under that authority. So who's under that? Nobody. And we all got a whole lot to say. Everybody got an opinion. Yeah, like everybody got orifices all over the body too. Everybody got an opinion. Everybody got orifices in the body too. So what? See, but when there's Jama'ah, you can't talk. The Imam says stand, the leader says stand, stand. Sit, sit. Go, go. Come, come. Spin. Give. Don't. Stop. That's commands. And the Muslims, like other human beings, we don't want to be commanded. Unless it's for a job. You will work for 60 years for a job, but you will not obey Allah, and you will not obey His messenger, and you will not obey those charged with authority among you, but you will work on the job for 50 years, and when you retire, they give you a cufflink. And you think you achieved something because you got a house. وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. See, after he says that, He says, what did he say after that? وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. Hold on to the rope of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala all together. وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. And do not divide. So some people, based upon their teachers, based upon their persuasions, based upon their madhab, based upon their hawa, based upon something they read or their own feelings or their own opinions, they say, وَفَرَّقُوا. Instead of Allah saying, وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. So others say, وَفَرَّقُوا. You ask them, how are you going to divide? Oh, those are muqtadi. We cannot pray with them. Who said you can't pray with somebody who's doing bid'ah? Who said that? The Prophet didn't say that. You think all the people following the Prophet, they was all straight? They was all scholars? They was all intelligent people? They was all disciplined people? No. You see that 30 years after the Prophet passed away, what did they do? وَفَرَّقُوا. These are people who was following. These are people whose names is in the sanad of the hadith. But what they did, based upon their hawa, their feeling, their position, based upon their culture, their tribe, their status. And we're not blaming nobody, we're not criticizing nobody, we ain't saying nothing bad about no companions, no tabi'in, no tabi'in, because what happened, happened, but we're not blaming them. Because Allah, He knows best. But the history said they broke into pieces. They did things they wasn't supposed to do. And even the grandson of the Prophet was killed by Muslims. See that? See? So how long ago was that? A Muslim killed Umar ibn Khattab. Muslims killed Usman ibn Affan. Muslims is killing more Muslims today than non-Muslims is killing Muslims. We're calling them kafirs, mushriks. No, point the finger back at ourselves. Why? Because we're not following this verse. Allah says, hold on to the book of Allah. He didn't say hold on to those scholars. Scholars need to hold on too. He said, hold on to the rope of Allah. That's the Quran, the Wahi, the Sunnah. And we're not talking about the Sunnah of the clothes. Everybody can do that. Everyone can wear the Sunnah of the clothing. Even when it ain't even Sunnah, they still wear it and call it Sunnah. No, the Sunnah of the Prophet is his behavior, his akhlaq, his manners, his principles, his mindset. This is the Sunnah of the Prophet. You know, there's three kinds of Sunnah. Sunnah fi'li, qawli, wa taqriri. Three kinds of Sunnah. There's an outward Sunnah, there's an inward Sunnah. You know, there are brothers who wearing a beard, and when they see somebody shaving, they say, now we that. No, you don't know. Maybe his beard on his heart is longer than yours. Maybe he's making tahajjud. I know a brother. For some reason, he's a professional brother. And I live with him. So I know him very well. For 17 years, he never missed his tahajjud. But he doesn't have a beard on his face. And when brothers see him, they be saying, hey, Sheikh, why your homeboy, why he ain't got no beard? I tell him, mind your business, because you get slapped. Because sometimes that's how we got to check each other. You got to slap somebody sometimes. Talk too much. Running your mouth. Saying things you don't need to be saying. Talking to the sister, why you ain't got no hijab on? Man, mind your business. They ain't your sister, they ain't your mother, they ain't your daughter. Why you talking to the sister? Mind your business, man. You just ain't been around the brothers who be on that, because you be wind up on the side of the road. So the Jama'ah is the disciplined body of Muslims following a leader with a commitment, bay'ah, a commitment under discipline. And Allah says, وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. Do not divide. Don't divide by calling yourself a madhab. You can follow a madhab. No problem with that. In fact, it may be recommended because the teachers of the madhab, our fathers, they are the steps that we climb to get where we want to go and understand. But they're not ma'soom. The Prophet is ma'soom. The companions, they're not ma'soom. Not Abu Bakr or Umar or Uthman or Ali, they're not ma'soom. They follow the one who's ma'soom. The one who is without fault. The one who is guided, and he's given this guidance directly from Allah, and he cannot commit a sin. That's Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The rest of them are just human beings following that person. And if you slept with them, or walked with them, or lived with them, you will see some faults. So we don't be following somebody because he has some knowledge, like he's a prophet. No, we don't do that. We take and we leave. We take and we leave from everyone. Illa Rasulullah. You got that principle? We take and we leave from everyone. Illa Rasulullah. Because Allah, He said in the Quran, وَمَا أَتَاكُمُ الرَّسُولُ فَخُذُوهُ وَمَا نَهَاكُمْ عَنْهُ فَانْتَهُوا. So take what the Prophet will give you and leave alone what he forbid you. Then the verse comes, وَاذْكُرُوا. And remember. وَاذْكُرُوا. See another? Here's Allah say it again. وَاذْكُرُوا. And remember. Ni'mat Allah. Remember the favor of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on you, alaykum, id kuntum a'da'an. That He found you enemies. Now just think about the brothers in this here room right here. The countries we came from. If it wasn't for Islam, it could never happen. Some of us were direct enemies culturally. Direct enemies historically. Direct enemies ideologically. But by the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He said, فَأَلَّفَ بَيْنَ قُلُوبِكُمْ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He joined your hearts together. Allah, He joined our hearts. Not we joined our hearts. Allah, He joined our hearts. فَأَصْبَحْتُمْ بِنِعْمَتِهِ إِخْوَانًا. So by the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and again He's mentioning the ni'mah of Him, you became brothers and sisters. And here when Allah uses the word brotherhood, it's not gender. When Allah says ikhwa, He means those whose hearts He brought together, male and female, into a bond of fraternity. وَكُنْتُمْ. And He says, and you, all of you, وَكُنْتُمْ عَلَى شَفَاء حُفْرَةٍ. All of you was on the edge of the pit of the fire, whether the fire was kufr, or whether it was shirk, or whether it was some selfishness, or some kind of disease, or some kind of fawahish. You were all on the edge, hufratin min an-nar, on the edge of the fire. That means you could have died right there, and you would have fell into the fire. فَأَنْقَذَكُمْ مِنْهَا. And Allah, He saved you from it. كَذَلِكَ يُبَيِّنُ اللَّهُ. So therefore, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is making clear to you His signs in order that you would be guided. Okay. So this verse is so powerful, we don't need to go outside that verse and recite other ones. My talk is about community, brotherhood, and leadership. It's all in the same ayah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls the Messenger of Allah to make hijrah. You remember the hijrah? Not the hijrah to Habash, the hijrah to Yathrib, which is now called Madinah al-Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. After the hijrah, After the Prophet he stayed. What's the companion he stayed with for 40 days? Who knows? He was the patriarch of Medina. And he stayed with this person. Who knows the name? If you don't know the name, brothers, this is what's the problem. You know, you read too much Quran, you ain't reading the Sirah.
Suhail?
No. Sorry. Nobody knows the name of the companion of the Prophet when he stayed with him in Medina? He stayed with him because he cannot just start talking, can't stop him, be moving around. Abu Sa'id al-Khudri. So he stayed with him 40 days. Why? Because he's the patriarch of Medina. And the Prophet said, need to know what's the local traditions. Because that's not his city. He has to know the local traditions. He has to know the local people. And so while he stayed there, he built a masjid where he arrived at called Kuba. You know, Kuba. If you go to make ziyarah, you have to pray in Kuba, right? But Kuba was not the masjid of the Prophet, so that's just the first masjid that he built, the first masjid of Islam. And during that period of time, he was schooling the Prophet and giving him orientation about the people, the culture, the urf. So he would not, and his companions would not violate the customs of those people. See how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he arranged everything. And during that time also, he told him, O Messenger of Allah, this is one of the best places over this area. Some people said, build it over here, build your masjid over here, build your masjid over here. The Prophet was offered a piece of land. They offered to give it to him. He said no. He said, no, we have to pay for it. You see how wise it was for the Prophet to pay for that piece of land? Not take it as a gift. Because if you take it as a gift, those who gave it to you as a gift, if you give them an order, they take it back. He said, no, we will pay for it. So the Prophet said, he established the first waqf in Islam. A piece of land that's dedicated for Allah that can never return back to anybody else's possession. Say Allahu Akbar.
Allahu Akbar.
So there he established the brotherhood. He took the Ansari and the Muhajirin and he made them brothers. Before they were not brothers. If they saw each other out in the desert, they would fight and take each other's property. But because they had sworn allegiance to the Prophet, the Ansari and the Muhajirin, he brought them together as brothers. Under whose leadership? His leadership. He took the oath from them. He took the bay'ah from them. So there you have leadership and you have brotherhood. And Allah, he mentioned it in the Quran. You see? And that was the first Islamic community. So you have leadership, community, and what? Brotherhood. So the word masjid here, I said masjid, but in the verse, Allah did not say nothing about masjid. A masjid is a structure that's put on top of the place of the waqf. So I told you in the khutbah that the Prophet said, Ju'ilatul ard. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he said, Allah made the earth a masjid for me. Wherever you find a pure place to pray, pray. The whole earth is a masjid. How Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did that for his ummah. That the ummah, he can pray everywhere. But the people of the Bani Israel, they could not pray everywhere. The Ahlul Kitab people, they could not pray everywhere. They had to make kanisa. But for us, where we find a place that's unencumbered, we're not blocking no traffic. It's not a graveyard. It's not a place of dumping and trash. It's not on nobody else's property. It's not in the middle of the road. It's a nice place. It's a clean place. Pray. Find the Qibla and pray. Allah gave that as a gift to his ummah. This phenomenon that we have today of getting a building, buying some property and getting a building, we have to thank the Constitution of the United States for that. And you ain't even giving the United States nothing back. Nobody here, nobody that I know said, because this country gave me freedom, because this country gave me constitutional liberties, because this country so and so. The same money I spent for my house, I'm giving this to the government. Did you give anything back to the government? No. You think somehow or another that the government just supposed to give you something. No. Those of us that was here when you came, I'm telling you, the government didn't have to give you nothing. And once your masjid is built, people call it, oh, this is the Pakistani masjid, or this is the Bangladeshi masjid, or this is the Turkish masjid. I ain't say they said that, but everybody's saying that because the people of the board of trustees is going to be that until they die. And after they die, it's going to be that. Because people want to follow what they like. Their food, their dress, their language. That's what they like. I didn't say it's haram, but it's not Islamic. It's not Islamic. Who said because your grandfather built the masjid? No, he had the right, he had to trust. He had to be respected. If he built it, he had to be respected. But he ain't got to be followed. Who said that? Who said the board got to be some Turkish guy built the masjid, some Turkish people got to lead the prayer? Who said that? You're lucky there ain't no regulators. We take all the masjids. Don't say the Sheikh's creed and fitna. Don't say that. I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I'm saying that you're lucky that there's no regulator. Because if there was a regulator, the regulator would collect the zakat and put you in order. I know most of y'all are going to be praying that there don't be no regulator. Community. What is community? Community is a group of people not inside of a masjid. And if this building wasn't here, where would the community be? Where would it be? I passed by another masjid way down the road down there someplace. When you drive, it'll take you about a minute to pass it. I ain't saying no name for nothing. That ain't a Jama'ah neither. I prayed there. They good Muslims, nice masjid, mashallah. But guess what? The leader here, the leader there, and the leader there, they ain't hooked up. And if you go there and tell them why you ain't following the leader, say, mind your business, or just get out of here. If you don't go there, just call the police on you. They call the police. We should call the police. Because the 6,000 masajids in the United States of America belong to human beings who themselves is not regulated. They do whatever they want to do. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the heat. When you don't follow the rule of Allah, it's like you don't follow the rule of food eating. You know, if you eat fast food, you're going to get sick. If you don't eat food that's nutritious, you got to take supplements. Right? And because of the fact that we're not following the Quran and the Sunnah when it comes to Jama'ah, that means we got to take supplements. No leadership. If you don't think I'm saying what I'm saying, go to any masjid and ask who's the president of this masjid? Who's the chairman of this masjid? If you want to call him the Amir of this masjid, when you find out who he is, ask him, who is his Amir? He'd be like, you don't even know what you're saying. He doesn't know what you're saying. Because when they established the masjid, they thought that that was the Amir of that building. Now, if that building wasn't there, what would he be the Amir of? Nothing. Now, the old guys, like me, I'm 76. The old guys like me, don't worry about it. Don't get no attitude, don't get no latitude, don't get no longitude, don't get nothing. Because I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to me. I'm talking to these young boys and these young girls who is now 15, 20, 25. We're going to be in the ground. And you hope that the masjid you're praying in will still be here. Some of these big masjids is going to be white elephants. You ever seen a white elephant? You ever seen a white elephant? That means places that used to be masjids, but because the Muslims was weak, the Muslims got confused, the Muslims was overrun, and they become casinos or dance halls. You say, oh no, this cannot happen. Yeah, it has happened. Muslims from India, they can tell you it has happened. Muslims in China can tell you it has happened. So why couldn't it happen here? Because right now, the United States of America is the most powerful constitutional country in the world. And we're under the protection of this country. That's why it has not happened. You should be grateful to the country that they have a dome of protection. One of my wives, she's Somali. And I always remind her, the Catholics did not invade your country. You guys killed each other. You killed each other. I'm not saying nothing bad about Somalia, that's my country. You know, by marriage, that's my country. And I love the people of that country. But historically, they lost their country because of tribalism. Today, most of the Muslim failures is because of tribalism. Allah is telling you right here, you were enemies before, but He joined your hearts in what? And made you what? Brothers. You have to pray for the Jama'ah. You have to work and talk, and I'm not saying start no problems, but you got to ask questions. Where's the Jama'ah? They say come to the prayer. Fajr. No. We don't mean the prayer. Jama'ah don't mean prayer. Jama'ah is a component. Jama'ah is a mechanism. Jama'ah is the way. Jama'ah is the engine. Jama'ah comes from the disciplined group that becomes a state. The state becomes a country that rules the world. No Jama'ah, you can't even rule your own house without the Jama'ah. You can't rule your house. Some of you brothers with long beards and hairy chests inside the house, you ain't got no problem. If it wasn't for the Sunnah, your wife should be leading the prayer and you should be calling the Qamar. Because you ain't exercising no power. And you can laugh and all that, but you know what I'm talking about. So, brothers, you know, there was a time when the Muslims were very few in America. Maybe about 15,000 new Muslims in the whole country. 15,000. Coast to coast, border to border. About 1.2 million Muslims from other countries. Today, 7 million Muslims and 2.5 are new Muslims. Say subhanAllah. So we have grown in quantity, but we didn't grow in quality. So my nasiha to you is this. Think about the verse. Hold on to the rope of Allah. Hold the Quran and the Sunnah. And you know, brothers, the Quran is not the Mus'haf. You know, the Mus'haf is what we're using to read Quran. But Allah didn't drop pages and books out of the sky. Jibril did not bring pages and books to Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He brought wahi. This is revelation that lit the hearts, lifted the minds, changed our mindset, and put us on a new path, the wahi. So if you see somebody burning the Quran, you know that's a new phenomenon today. People that don't like Muslims because they don't know Islam. So how somebody gonna hate Islam? They don't even know it. How you gonna hate something that you don't even know? It's impossible. So what people are hating? What are they hating? What are they hating? They're hating Muslims. They're hating Muslims. And most of you don't know what it is to be a non-Muslim. You don't know. In my first 10 years as a Muslim, after I traveled to some of the Muslim world and made Hajj and went from Karachi all the way over to Bangladesh. I mean, at that time it was East Pakistan. I crossed the whole India on the train. You know, and I went to other places. I was confused. It was by the grace of Allah that I'm still a Muslim. If it wasn't for the grace of Allah, I would have left Islam because of Muslims. I didn't say you. I'm saying people that I saw that was living the antithesis of Islam. That means, Islam on the inside and culture on the outside. So much culture on the outside, you can't even see Islam. That's Muslims. Whether you're a homeboy, a homeboy Muslim, or you Muslim from somewhere else. The homeboys, we got a culture too. But the Prophet said, none of you can truly believe until hatta. No. None of you can truly believe until you subordinate your hawa to what I have brought. What's your hawa? Your hawa is your idea. Your hawa is your feeling. Your hawa is your culture. Your hawa is what you prefer for yourself and your people. That's your hawa. So the Prophet said, none of you can truly believe until you subordinate your hawa to what I have brought. What did he bring? He brought the Quran and the Sunnah. So that means that we don't have to leave nothing. We got to recalibrate it. What did I say? What's the word? Yeah, you don't have to give up your car. The motor ain't running right. You don't give up the car. What you do? You go get a what? Go get a tune-up. It's about brotherhood. Brothers, I'm going to do a little example here. And the chef, look, I know that Don is coming quick, so if you can just give me like 5, 6, 7 more minutes, you know what I'm saying? I want to just do a little test here. Because I don't want people to be thinking that at a sheikh, he from Brooklyn, he coming down on us because we immigrants and blah, blah. Come on, man. You just thinking some foolishness. I got a wife from Somalia and I got a wife from Uzbekistan. So, I cover the whole thing. Way over there, way over there. So, brothers, look to the left. Salam alaikum. Brothers, look to the left. And then look to the right. And then look behind you. And then look in front of you. Did you see anybody that came to your house in the last year and ate with you? Come on, brothers, I asked you a question. Did you see somebody that came to your house that you invited and they ate with you? They know your family? Most of you cannot say that, right? So how you gonna be brothers? You come to the masjid like Taslim out and go? You didn't ask the brother for his name. You don't know the brother's name. You don't know his family. You come to here for the last year, 5 years, 10 years. Y'all praying together, reading Quran and this and that and all that. You don't know the brothers. You don't know his father. You don't know his mother. You don't know his sisters and brothers. You don't know the uncles and the aunts. You never ate together in a year, probably in 5 years. How are we gonna be brothers? You know what's separating us? Culture. Because everybody likes to eat with their own people. Everybody likes to eat their own food. Everybody likes to hear their own language. That's ma'ruf. But to go outside of that, to make it a point to go outside of that, that's brotherhood. That's brotherhood. You see? That means you got to make the effort. If you want to be brothers, you got to make the effort. And I want you brothers to think about it. In the khutbah, I asked you about the neighbors, remember? I asked you about the neighbors, and you couldn't answer that neither. So how are we going to establish a community if we don't even know the neighbors, man? The community is not me and you. This building sits in the middle of a community. How many brothers here in the last 5 years or 10 years that you went to the town hall for the meeting and here see what's going on in the community? Ooh. Raise your hand. Come on, brothers. You living in the middle of a community of people that was here before you got here. They established, they built the roads, they built the infrastructure. They got the hospitals, they got the schools, they got everything that you came here and benefited from, and you don't even go to the town hall and listen just to be respectful about what's going on. That's our problem. We're living in a bubble. The bubble gonna break in a minute. You're gonna remember what I had to say. Some of you have to go to the town hall and listen to what the people have to say. and bring it back to the imam or bring it back to the majlis and tell them this is what they plan and this is what they're doing. Because if you're not there, guess what? You absent. And those who are absent are unrepresented. You talking about the Kafirs. Man, somebody should bring you up out of here. Take your passport first and then put you on a plane. Then how you doing? Yeah, how you like it now? See? Or the homeboys, those of us that were born here. You know, we learned from some people who told us we should not get involved with politics. Now, how stupid is that? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, after he got to Medina, he spent most of his life, receiving wahi that was turned into treaties. You know how many treaties was dictated to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? I'm asking the question. How many treaties was dictated to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Those of you who read the seerah, tell me. At least 14 to 16 treaties were dictated by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the Prophet because he didn't write. But all of those treaties, he was an arbiter. The Prophet was an arbiter. He's writing treaties that include the mushrikeen and the Christians and the Jews and the Muslims so there could be peace, no war. To make sure all the rights is done, people's property. The Prophet was dictated by Allah. Treaties. Did you know, brothers, that the passport that you got inside, the passport you holding on to? How many of you got this passport? How many people got a passport? All of you? This is the treaty. This ain't just some place to go from place to place. This is a treaty. When you violate this, you did something the Prophet never did. He never violated a treaty. And if you read the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, you can see that it was not a good treaty. Right? But Allah says, at the time of Hudaybiyah, who knows the ayah that Allah says? Say it. Say it, Sheikh. Verily, we have given you a clear victory. Although the ones who was with the Prophet, most of them, they did not think it was a victory, did they? Until the verse was revealed, except for Abu Bakr. Because Abu Bakr was the kind of person, that whatever the Prophet was thinking, whatever the Prophet he said, Abu Bakr was thinking and saying. Others, they didn't see it as a good treaty. But Allah mentioned to them after they went back, before they got back to Yathrib, the verse came. Fathan Mubina. Why is the fact? Because through that treaty, 10 years of peace, right? 10 years of peace. That means they can do business. They can go make Umrah the next year. Their families are now safe. Their money, they can trade. Life comes back to normalcy. So is that victory or not when you're dealing with war? Second thing, if they made a treaty with the Prophet, they was also recognizing what? He is the messenger of Allah. So, brothers, when you carrying this passport, it ain't just permission for you to come and go. It's a treaty. You better find out what the treaty is. Because the Prophet's life in Medina, most of it was spent writing and adhering to the treaty. There was a treaty between Muhammad and the believers, right? There was a treaty with the believers and the Prophet. There was a treaty between the believers. There was a treaty between the Prophet and the Christians and the Jews, the people of the Ahl Medina. And they all agreed that the Prophet was the arbiter of Medina. And they could not leave Medina, or they could not leave without what? His permission. Look how powerful that is. So if they made a treaty that the Prophet was an arbiter, and we're under the treaty of this country, that means just like they had to obey, we have to obey. It goes like that. We have to make the community complete. The masjid is in the middle of the community. That masjid must engage with the outer community. If they are inheriting, something is wrong, you got to correct it. You got to be involved. But you're not doing that. There's a weakness, there's a defect in your relationship, and Allah is going to show you the defect later on. And between us brothers, a family is not your family. This is all family. This is a faith family. And we got rights to each other. And leadership, Umar ibn Khattab, he said something. This is again in Athar. Umar, he said, there is no Islam without Jama'ah. What did he say? There's no Islam without what? And there's no Jama'ah without? No. He said there's no Islam without Jama'ah, and there's no Jama'ah without the Amir. He didn't say Imam, he said what? Without what? Without an Amir. And there's no Amir illa bita'a. And there's no Amir illa except there is what? Hearing and obeying. Now, I know this seems like this is another Islam. They say, what the Sheikh is talking, man? We didn't hear that before. Okay, go back to the drawing board. Go back to the Quran, go back to the Sunnah of the Prophet, and you'll see there's community, there's Jama'ah, there's leadership. It's there. Just that we forgot it. We covered it up with some other stuff for our convenience. And brothers, if you will, just review your Islam. If you're courageous enough to assess your Islam, you'll see that we're all brothers. Ain't no big, ain't no tall, ain't no small, short, this, that. Ain't nobody from over here, ain't no big hats, ain't no gutras, ain't no, shabak, ain't none of that. We all human beings. When you die, you go in your grave the same way. We have to develop a community inside in order that we can serve the community on the outside. We have to cultivate brotherhood by small acts. Every Jum'ah, I'm suggesting to the brothers, every Jum'ah, when you finish Jum'ah, get somebody that don't look like you. Somebody from the other side of the world. If you Pakistani or Bangladeshi, go get one of them African boys and bring them to your house and eat. You African, go get one of them Bosnian brothers or Uzbeki brothers or whatever, Afghani brothers, and take them home and eat. Are you an Arab brother? Yeah, get one of those brothers, them African brothers or Bengali brothers, take them to your house to eat. So you get to know him and he gets to know you. Over a period of time, you're going to see a different brotherhood. If you're not doing that, you got a deficiency. We have a deficiency. I just exercise a couple of questions so you can see it for yourself. Don't get no attitude. It is what it is. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. Evaluate yourself before you begin evaluating. And humble yourself. Allah, He don't like the people who's mutakabbirin. He don't like the proud, arrogant people. Just because you got knowledge and you got culture, you memorized the Quran, you got this, you got so what? Islam is not built on the books, brothers. The books are there as a reference, but books don't read, books don't talk. They're just there as a reference. Islam is a deen that is living. The books are not living. They're just a reference. Just because you memorize some books or somebody else memorized some books, they don't just because they memorize some books, they don't get to be the leaders and the commanders just for that. So you got to earn something different. And the Prophet said to his companions, he said, obey your leader even if he is a Habashi with a wrinkled up face like a raisin. Why do you tell him that? Because that's the last person that the Arabs would ever think that they're going to follow. You feel me? The last person that the Arabs thought they would ever follow is a Habashi slave with a wrinkled up face and knotty hair. Somebody they would never think, because he's what? He's an Abd. He's an Abid. Yeah, that's what the Prophet said today. So Allah did an Ibra for us. We all Americans, most of us sitting here as Americans, right? Who did Allah send as the president of this country? His name was Barack Hussein Obama from Kenya. That's his father was. So Allah sent a sign to the white people that I'm putting a black man in the White House with a dignified wife that's more beautiful than all the white women that came in the White House. That's what Allah did. Khalid didn't say that. That's what Allah did. I didn't say he's Muslim, he wasn't. Well, he studied Quran when he was a child. That means if he was in the madrasa, that means he was reading Quran. And if he was reading Quran, he was praying, right? That's why he's selected before he became president. His name when he was born was not Barack Hussein. That wasn't his name on his passport. On his birth certificate. He chose those names. Now, you know, when he went in the White House, he had to kind of like chill that out. You would too. So this is an ibra from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that he can send. Allah is fa'al lima yurid. He is what? Fa'al lima yurid. He's the doer of whatever he pleases. Brothers and sisters, we have a chance in this country called America that Islam can come up and become influential, and some territories of this country will come under Islam. That's what I believe. The Mormons is controlling a state called what? Utah. Did you brothers know that this is the most powerful Christian territory in the entire world? Did you know that? Did you know that? The Mormon state is a Christian state. The parliament is Christian. The legislation is Christian. The state government is Christian. Can nobody become the mayor, the governor if he's not a Christian? A Mormon. It's an independent state. And that independent state is controlling economically the states that it's attached to. Did you know that? So if Allah, he gave the Mormons who got a false prophet, Allah, he gave the Mormons, you understand me, with a false book. Allah, he gave the Mormons that kind of power in America. That's the only religious state in America that's controlling the entire state. So if Allah did that for the Mormons, and guess what the amount of Mormons is in America? How many do you think? Go to your Google Gaggle Giggle, check it out right now. There's approximately 5.6 million Mormons controlling the state. And they got a false prophet and a false book. So what about the 7 million Muslims that's here? We got the final prophet. And we got a book that's legitimate, that even the entire world recognizes. Why we don't have a state? Why we don't have a territory? Because we didn't work for it. If you don't work for it, Allah don't give it to you. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to wake us up. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us humble. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us active. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to regulate us. We ask Allah to give us an amir, to give us someone who is strong enough, respectful enough, knowledgeable enough, and distinct enough that all the leaders who's called themselves leaders will follow. Because when Muslims have one voice in this country, a state will come next. And if Muslims have a state in this country, they may become the strongest group of Muslims in the world. You say maybe, oh Sheikh, you dreaming. That's what I do, I dream. America is a country of dreams. You can dream and you can scheme in this country. In other places you cannot. And guess what? If I was giving this talk in at least 23 of the 34 countries in the Muslim world, I would be locked up and you would be locked up. But I'm giving this talk in the United States of America. Nobody can lock you up. See? If they didn't lock up Donald Trump, they ain't gonna lock me up. I'm so glad that Bush went back to the Bushes and Trump went back to the Trumps. Anyway, brothers and sisters, most of what I have to say here, I hope that these young kids, these young boys, these young men, these young people who are 15 years old and up, that they understand what I'm saying to you, because maybe your fathers and your mothers and your uncles and your aunts and others, they will not tell you this. You have a responsibility to this country. We have a responsibility to this country, because this country received us, and the country we were born here, and they allow us to move with no passport from New York all the way to California. Nobody stopping you, bothering you. You can go all the way from Texas, from Mexico, all the way up to Canada. Nobody's bothering you. As long as you obey the law and pay the taxes, nobody can bother you. What Muslim country is like that? So don't forget. And if I'm talking a little bit too strong, I'm sorry. I can take the man out of Brooklyn. I can't take Brooklyn out of the man. I want to thank the Jama'ah here, the leader of the TMC. The brothers, thank you so very much for this invitation. I thank you very much for listening to me. I'm no special guy. This is a special time. We are under special circumstances, and I came under invitation. But if you don't like what I got to say, guess what? it's all right. I'll be leaving tomorrow morning. You ain't got to listen to me no more. You can go back to whatever you like, and I'm not going to remind you until there's a regulator. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless our sisters, the soldiers of this deen. Today, Allah, He made our sisters the soldiers. وَمَا يَعْلَمُ جُنُودَ رَبِّكَ إِلَّا هُ. Because when there was a problem like 9/11, most of you brothers are sitting here now, you took off your kufis, shaved your beard, put your shalwar kameez inside your pants, took off your clothes, put on your baseball caps until the thing was cleared up a little bit. But our sisters, the soldiers, they couldn't do that. Throughout the whole situation, they was wearing the hijab. May Allah bless them. And because of that situation, Allah sent another group of soldier sisters to America called the Somalis, and they capped it off. The Somali sisters is the soldiers of the hijab. I recommend to all the Muslim sisters in America, if you want to get the courage to wear your hijab correctly, go to the Somalis. Allah bless them with that. So everybody got something beautiful. My first teacher in Quran, he's from Punjab. Hafiz Maqbool Ilahi, a very famous family in Punjab. I made my first 2 hajj with him. And I did my chilla in Rawin. So may Allah bless Allah. Every group of people got something. You got to look for what Allah gave you. You got to look for what Allah gave others. And when you look to what Allah gave you and gave us and everybody you see gave us every something different, when you bring it all together, we got the whole pie. May Allah unite our hearts. May Allah give strength to us. May Allah give us leaders that we appreciate and leaders that have courage. May Allah give us people that are resourceful. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us with good children. رَبَّنَا هَبْ لَنَا مِنْ أَزْوَاجِنَا وَذُرِّيَّاتِنَا قُرَّةَ أَعْيُنٍ وَاجْعَلْنَا لِلْمُتَّقِينَ إِمَامًا رَبَّنَا إِنَّنَا آمَنَا فَاغْفِرْ لَنَا ذُنُوبَنَا وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ رَبَّنَا أَفْرِغْ عَلَيْنَا صَبْرًا وَتَوَفَّنَا مُسْلِمِينَ رَبَّنَا أَفْرِغْ عَلَيْنَا صَبْرًا وَثَابِتْ أَقْدَامَنَا وَانصُرْنَا عَلَى الْقَوْمِ الْكَافِرِينَ رب اغفر وارحم وانت خير الراحمين لا اله الا انت سبحانك اني كنت من الظالمين يا الله الغفور الرحيم برحمتك يا ارحم الراحمين يا ارحم الراحمين ارحمنا يا ارحم الراحمين ارحمنا يا ارحم الراحمين ارحمنا. Oh dear brothers and sisters in Islam, rectify yourselves, pray for the Jama'ah, pray for the leadership to come to regulate the Muslims, and pray for brotherhood, the fraternity of Islam. If we pray for that and we are sincere, Allah will give to us because He's promised us. وَمَنْ يَتَقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا وَيَرْزُقُهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبُ وَمَنْ يَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ. Call upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and He will answer you. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك ونشهد ان لا اله الا انت ونستغفرك ونتوب اليك والسلام عليكم ورحمه الله.